Hey guys, Yankee Dog 13 here, and I'm bringing you my Season 3 tier list. I'm here with my boy Irish, and we're going to do a little
Yo.
consolidation on placing each person in their tier. Alright, Irish, since you're the mage expert, let's start off on Ogmi.
He's alright.
He's
Like
alright. I'm thinking right now he's like an A+,
he
bro.
I don't know, he's I, B plus A range. Like
I'm going to put him
his
in A, man.
burst is all fun and dandy, but
I think he's a balanced character. I think full on through and through he's a balanced, one. Sphere of Desolation really helps him.
yeah.
The new pen items really help. The fact that tanks aren't really tanks anymore, it helps them a lot in the end game. So they're pretty good in my opinion, but I kind of agree though. Agni is just pretty much that basic character for right now.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, the way the maps are set up, any mage with an escape is better than Zeus per se, just because it's so open, you're just gonna get caught off anywhere, and Agni's amazing for getting out.
Yeah, I really like his dashing abilities. You really don't have to put your beads on cooldown or your Aegis on cooldown. You're able to get around and move around because his abilities, his mobility is pretty good for a mage also. And then his stun from his noxious fumes is really good in teamfights late game. But that's all
Combust
from me
is
on
so
Nagi.
good.
That's all from me on Agni. I don't really know him that well. I just know what he can do, and in this meta, you know how he works.
Yeah, he's B plus A range.
All right, I'm gonna go with A. Next up is AMC. I think without a doubt he's a B. B means that you could play
Yeah.
him in casuals, but you can't really play him in ranked. He has no mobility. His hives do help, but realistically, he just gets bursted down in this meta. The kin size though really does help with his attack speed. Unfortunately, since there's no crit now, you really can't burst down anybody. So he's really not a great pick. You'd have to waste your
Well,
beads and your sprint. You can't even get Aegis with him. So it's a
yeah, his
painful
biggest
thing.
issue was, the whole no escape and the lifesteal meta for hunters is what actually somewhat made him viable, but that's
I know.
gone.
I like
That
Transcendence
meta
on
is
him. I think I like Transcendence on him. I really don't feel as if you have to go Dev Gods with him actually. So it does kind of complement the meta now, but he has no escape. He really doesn't have any mobility. It's not really worth anything to me. I don't know.
exactly.
I won't play him in my ranked games. That's for sure.
Nope,
All right.
not a one.
Next up, one of your favorite gods, Opwash.
I love Upwash, but he's so bad.
I think he's like a B plus. I could play him. I'm not a mage guy.
Honestly, I think he's stayed roughly around the B C range.
No. I
They,
don't think there's many. There's only a few gods that are playing in the C range right now. Um, Honestly, I think he's a B plus, if not an A. But I'm going to put him in B plus. He still has a really good amount of burst damage. He just doesn't really have any mobility anymore. No escapes, so his gank potential is really high. But to say that he's somebody that you won't play in ranked is not a true thing. Especially with now Hell being a good pick, Afro being a good pick. Anybody pretty much with the healing because of the fact that Gauntlet of
I
Thieves came
mean,
out.
he's a good counterpick to some gods, but what Hi-Rez has done is to make up for the fact that he has no escape. He has the burst damage, and then at first his ult had the slow, which they took away, and they reduced the slow on his one. So his gank potential actually shot down.
Yeah, of course.
Like I had him at a B plus B range, but you start taking away his CC effects because of his burst damage, he's just going to drop lower and lower because that means his rotations are going to be a lot more worthless.
Yeah, I still think though with the in team fights he could still be good late game. The way that tier list is set up, there's really C and D are the gods that you'll never ever pick. But I still see Upwatch being picked. I still think he's a B plus range. I don't think he's an A. I really don't think he's a B. I think he's B plus. That's just my opinion upon it. I don't know. He could get better. He could get worse. It all depends on how items get changed and things like that. So.
Yeah, Spear is really good on him now. I did play one
Yes,
of those games.
Spear of
the other day.
Desolation is a very, very good item on him now. Spear of Desolation is a very good item on every mage. That's a different story. Alright.
Except for Ice.
To a degree. Alright, next up is On Her. I think without a question, On Her is an A right now. Um,
Yeah.
I don't. He's gonna get to the A plus tier
A
soon.
plus.
You think he's A plus? I think.
Yeah.
I think until he's
we
more
actually
proven.
did a game earlier with Haven, and just his viability right now is outstanding.
I think the biggest issue is that he has the lane clear. That's fine. The big thing about him is his pen. So you could build kins and be very happy with it. But just the way he moves around and the way his skill set is, it's not like he's a top ADC. He's gonna get a lot better as people play him. I agree with that fully. But for now, I feel he's at like the base level for all gods. You know, the balanced gods. There's nothing too good about him, nothing too bad about him. You know, he's just one of those gods. I think that's fair to say that he's an A. All right, on to the most broken god of recent history. Amaterasu is SS, which there are few, if any, gods that get that. SS by far. The ability to move around them.
I disagree. I'd say she's S plus right now because they nerfed her. Like when her heal, her one was still the way it was, SS nonstop. Her damage burst insane, but without that super sustain she had, I think she got bumped down a little bit.
I still think she's SS, and the reason why
still
is
monstrous.
First of all, she's one of the only gods that you could build fully tank and be able to put out the damage number she can. Her reflecting shield is just disgusting. Her ult is one of the best ults in the game, if you can hit it. Her one still is very, very useful in team fights, with giving mobility for one stance and then power for the other. And her dash is stupid. Her dash is able to make an opponent CC'd so that they can't use an ability, and or is it a disarm also, or is it just a CC?
It's just the silence.
Okay, so even with the silence, it really kills somebody. So if you have Amma in the jungle, solo lane, support, shit, I've seen people play it mid lane. I haven't seen her played in the ADC role yet, but thank God, because if that
She's
happens,
fun.
we're all fucked.
I will say that.
She's
She's a mage
so
destroyer for sure.
But for right now, I feel as if she is the best god since Nemesis release, Guan Yu release, Season 0 Hercules. I think she.
I don't know about the Guan Yu release. I don't know about that one.
She has Guan Yu release old. Her power numbers are just unbelievable. Like I said, for me, I never ever put gods in SS tier, but Amaterasu at this moment is by far there.
Oh yeah.
So, alright, we'll leave that one. Next up is Anubis. Oh my god. One of my favorite gods to play that isn't an ADC, but it's so hard to play him nowadays, bro. It's so hard.
Yeah, it's, like I said, it's an escape mage meta, dude. Just the way the maps are set up and the way the jungle's going and some of the other mages that are just in meta at the moment, like, you have to have an escape.
It's bad. In my opinion, I don't put him as a C because I feel as if his damage late game is very, very good. I'm gonna put him in the B.
His objective puts him at B. Like,
yeah, I'm gonna put him
by
in
itself.
B.
Just his objective clear is B.
Yeah, no, I feel as if his objective clear, his damage if you can hit your stuns on him is just massive. However, like I said, with only having beads for a certain amount of time, he has no CC immunity unless he's in his ult. And the biggest issue is this: he's standing still for every one of his abilities, not named his his 3 and his 2. His 2 main damages, his 1, which is the clear wave early, and his ult, you can't even use because you're standing still. And with the mages nowadays, if you get bursted down, you're in trouble. It's bad. I don't know. I want him to be so good. I know you do too. I want him to get good. But for right now, it's so hard.
He will be better the day the map gets changed to, almost back to the old map. And
which one, Season 1 or Season 2?
Season 1.
Okay.
We're falling out of a tank meta into a health item meta, which Anubis isn't good for.
Of course not.
They both spelled bad luck for his kid. Like,
yeah, it's just not fun for him. But that's enough on Anubis. Let's move on to one of my favorite gods in this patch, Ao Kuang. Now, I'm going to ask you, what do you rate Ao Kuang as right now?
I would put him 8 A plus.
See, I disagree. I think he's an S tier. I think with these new mage items, it's the fact that tanks don't have a lot of health items anymore, the fact that his Dragon Call still has a lot of damage on it, his 3, which I can't remember for the life of me for some reason, has a lot of damage on it. His ult is still an execution. Yeah. And his 1 gives him an escape. Like, he's honestly got the biggest complete kit. I mean, shit, if he was a ranged character, it would, make him the best god ever made, but, he's melee for a reason. I honestly think he's one of the best gods in the game right now. I honestly have him as
far as kits go.
Huh?
I think you're correct. As far as kits go, he's definitely an S tier. But Ao Kuang has the curse of what very few gods get, which is their build changes constantly. Like, we saw the Tolkien's Ring demonic grip at first, and into more of a mage build.
Well,
and
actually, the reason why that happened,
fluctuates way too much.
The biggest reason why that happened, though, was because of how much his abilities were. No, it wasn't even that. It was because of his abilities. Because you got to remember, at one point, Dragon Call did the most damage of any ability in Smite history. If you were able to hit all of them, it did the most damage of all. Then it changed down to his 3, so then he became a burst mage. So realistically, having, whether you buy Demonic or Telekine's Ring, you still need one of them. Still having Spear of Desolation right now is huge on him. Not because of, basic attack damage, but when you hit his 3 on his Dragon Call, the amount of damage it pours in is crazy. Like I said, it's still the best thing about him is that he has an execution.
It really is.
Uh-huh.
But the only issue with it, I said Spear of Desolation is definitely an Ao Kuang item. Like, it was made for him.
It's hard to build him on. I mean, it's his burst that really helps. But realistically, the only thing that really helps Spear of Desolation for him is his damage. The amount, the 110 you get from Spear of Desolation is really the only reason why you build it on him, unless you're going to be constantly using your 3s.
Yeah, and I mean, just the way Spear of Desolation works, it allows him to spam more abilities, because guaranteed going into a fight, unless you have an incompetent player, he's going to get the kill.
Yeah, of course.
And then it's basically a second right off to Hootie. Plus, with the way the pin works, with him going into pin boots, it means he doesn't have to use Demonic Grip, which means he can go Telkine's Ring instead, which gives him the higher burst damage in the end.
Okay. No, and see, that's the reason why I won't put him as S+. See, originally a lot of people were like, oh, hey, he's S+ material, da-da-da. But when you think about the items and the way you have to build him in certain things, it's hard to put him as an S+ god, because S+ gods are, no matter how you build them realistically, they're able to be, used correctly. For him, it's hard to say that. So that's why I have him as an S instead of an S+. See, for you think he's an A+, but for me, I feel as if his damage output is just, phenomenal compared, and it really does complement the fact that you could, now that warriors have really taken over the solo lane, and it's not all mages like it used to be, you don't have to do a physical god in, the jungle. You could use mages. So I feel as if he's one of those gods that if he gets one more thing helped out with him, he's going to be one of the best gods in the game by far. So like I said, for me, I'm putting him as an S. Alright.
I can agree with that.
Next up is Afro. I like it. I like it a lot. I think she's an A+.
She's rough.
I think she's an A+. Having the kiss in birds, to heal both, her and another teammate. Having the kiss in her ult, which makes you, immune, invincible? I'm sorry, invincible during a team fight. She's just, so helpful in team fights. Her mobility is not the greatest, but, she has the back off to give space, I feel as if she has a lot of things. She could be almost S, but like I said, there's the mobility issue. But the difference between her and most gods that don't have mobility is that she could use the heal, she could use the back off, she could use the kiss. She has things to deter from it. So I feel as if she's really good in this meta.
She has mobility through skills versus an actual escape or a dash, whereas, like you said, she has the knockback. When she's actually connected with someone, they both get movement speed bonus.
Yeah, of course.
So, it's which allows her to sit in the back line and just juke whatever comes back.
Yeah. I said...
And then the immunity, it's insane.
That's why I don't think she's an S. I would love to put her in as an S, but she can't move around. That's the only problem I'm having so far. But I think she's an A+. I don't know. Do you have any, disagreeing with that?
Not really. We just kind of have to see where
she plays that
itemization
pretty much.
goes with her. I mean, she's pretty much had the same build since season 1, really, minus a few changes, like very minor changes in
Yeah,
items.
depending on the new
She's
items
always
coming
good.
out.
She's always good, but with the tank meta dying, she's going to get a lot better.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to try her out in the support role. I don't really think it's going to work out as much, but we'll definitely have to see how it goes. That's for sure. Alright. Next up is Apollo. Apollo for me, same thing as on her. Another base god. His ult is great, for mobility across the map. But for me, it's hard because he doesn't have dev gods anymore. Transcendence doesn't really work on him. He's more of a basic attack god. He can't go Death's Toll into, dev gods, into, the Aussie and the Kinsais really do help, but the early game is such a struggle with him. I don't know. I really can't see him more than an
That's
A.
the issue of hyper carry. That's, no matter what, Apollo will always be a hyper carry, but
he just doesn't have the kit to really help him.
Shifting to Kinsais, I think with the way his passive's going, Titan's bane makes him an even better hyper carry, but like you said, you have to make it to late game.
The problem
you have
is
to
this.
be able to outbox your opponent in lane. It comes down to player versus the actual god.
Yeah, the biggest issue is this. Everybody's thinking there's only two ways to build ADCs. Either you go full pen or you go crit. And for Apollo, it's hard to choose which one to go. Because if you go full pen, you're going to be doing a lot of damage, but you're not going to be hitting those high numbers on the tank. I mean, you're going to be hitting numbers on the tank. But on the other hand, if you go crit, then you could burst down any jungler, any mage, any other ADC, So for him, it's really hard to decide what to build.
Yeah, that's why I love his passive, though. That's why I think he's A plus S range still, because he is the hyper carry.
But there's so many other gods I'd rather pick for ADCs.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I really feel like
when Apollo gets in there, he has the versatility because you can, you know what I'm saying? Like you can skip an attack speed item on him because of his passive and still kind of do the duo crit pin build. And if you're behind in the game and your teammates are ahead, it allows Apollo to still solo farm and split push and be effective. Versus whereas some of those ADCs, you get behind like that, it's a devastating team fight, or if he has to split push later or anything like that. But he can still hold his own simply because of his kit.
Okay. Like I said, I'm going to leave him right now at A. We can move him within, doing this. If we see a god, that we think, works better than another one, we can move gods around. So for right now, I'm going to leave him in A. He could move up to A+. Like I said, I feel as if he's, right there where he needs to be as a balanced god. I really don't feel as if there's too much or too little from him. So exactly. We'll leave him there, and then we'll come back to him. We'll come back and we'll go through everything to make sure. So next up will be Arachne. I don't know how you feel about this.
Let's not even talk about this. This is S God straight up right now.
That's what I was going to say. She's right now for me as an S God. Yeah. With the webs coming out from the 3, the amount of damage she's been doing lately. I mean, she's been chewing through people, dude. And nobody wants to accept it.
Shot a Bologna earlier today from full health. Shot a Bologna.
I'm telling you, I think Arachne is so strong right now. I don't even think we have to even have an argument about this. There's nothing even to talk about.
2-shot at a Bologna. That's all that needs to be said.
Yeah, I mean, her ult gets her out of any fight, or gets you into any fight. Your 2 is a stun / you're gonna sit there in a fucking web and have fun with it. Her 3 is a slow.
She has a self-heal.
Yeah, her 1 has a self-heal. You can literally throw Gauntlets of Thebes on her and just body anybody. She's so dumb right now. I think she's an S. She isn't S+ yet, but that's okay. We'll get there eventually with her. I feel as if there's still some small things that need to be done.
And items like that with Arachne. I actually saw a game earlier today. The little recorded league games that are over there in the wisdom section.
Yeah.
I was bored waiting for everybody, and I hopped on. Sorry, my phone's not on silent.
It's okay.
But I stopped and hit one of those games, and I was watching it, and somebody picked up Shield of Regrowth on Arachne, and I watched her chase down a pentakill.
I don't know. I don't really like Shield of Regrowth. Like I said, if I'm gonna go with a healing item, I'm gonna go with Gauntlet of Thieves.
Oh yeah, Gauntlet of Thebes. But I'm just saying, I saw that and it never even crossed my mind.
I feel as if Shield
Like
of Regrowth
Shield of
is...
Regrowth procced when she hit somebody, and she immediately chased webs, healed again, chased down the third person, nailed the Freya that was rotating, and then ran back and took out the Sylvanas. All because of Shield of Regrowth procs on every character. She literally just ran through the jungle, just destroying everybody. It was amazing to watch.
Like I said, as of right now, I don't really know if Shield of Regrowth is a great item. It could be something that's worked on.
Oh no, it's not. It could be.
It could be part of her kit later on down the road. We never know. But the CCR is really good on it. The amount of health it gives, things like that are really going to help out that item with her. But like I said, I think Gauntlet of Thebes is more of the item to get, because if you get into a jam,
standard build healing item Gauntlet all the way.
Yeah, because if you get into a jam and you hit your poison bite and you hit something, Gauntlet of Thebes activates and your healing goes way up. It'll save your ass half the time. But like I said, Arachne for me is an S tier. She might move down. She might move down if people start learning how to play against her. But for now, since she's pretty much new to everybody, because not a whole lot of people are used to her, because at one point she was literally a C. Now she's just really strong.
Well, playing against her, I don't know a single god that can keep a soul 3 up the entire game. Like, that's the only way you're playing against her.
Yeah. So. Next up is Ares. I think we can pretty much safe to say that Ares is an A god.
Depending on the game mode.
No, it's only Conquest we're going off of.
For him. I was going to say he is the biggest Joust meta tank right now.
Oh,
it's stupid.
The best, if not... No, he's the best. But we'll leave that for this.
Yeah,
we'll leave that
straight
for now.
SS and Joust.
No, he's S+. He's still one of those guys that you could play against. It depends, because SS is one of those guys where you could, play them and almost win a game by yourself. Ares isn't one of those guys yet.
I don't know, have we seen you play Ares?
I've played Ares. I've done pretty well with it. But when it comes down to it, the biggest thing about him is that his aura is almost useless now. His passive is almost useless.
Yeah.
The passive of, having aura items increases your magical damage. Problem is, though, Sovereignty, Heart Ward, all the aura items that we used to buy are useless now. You're building into Bulwark of Hope, which is a passive. Breastplate of Valor, regular passive. Adventurer's Blade, which is what, you build, for starter because of the health and the mana and the mobility.
Mm-hmm.
None of those things have an aura on them. So his damage output isn't that good. However, his ability to hit the chains, the ability to have a protections on him, his ult, which now that you don't have beats is completely stupid. But there's such a give and take for him.
Makes it.
And realistically, in this meta, you can't build Mark of the Vanguard, which was his go-to item. You have to build Watcher's Gift, or you're going to be behind.
You had to play aggressive, and it's a little harder with him now.
Yeah. So, like I said, for me, I think Ares is at the base. You could play him, you can't play him, things like that. But I think right now he's just a basic god. I don't think there's anything more or less other than say that he is an A god.
Yeah. The changes definitely brought him down quite a bit.
Yeah. Alright, next up is my... Oh, God, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. Artemis. Artemis, at one point in time, was my favorite ADC in the game. Her power output was through the roof. Oh, my God. I used to have so much fun in Season 1 playing with her. After I got Cupid done. Just playing her, bro. I can't even bring up the stories. But... We're talking about this meta now.
That is a hunter right there. Was a hunter.
Yeah, she's not anything now. Honestly, she's a C to me. This is one of those gods that's a C. You're never, ever, ever, ever gonna play her. A lot of people started playing her when the new season came out, and I never really understood why. Yeah, the pen does help. She does have the attack speed steroid. We all know that. With her passive having the crit is great. But she literally has no movement at all. She has mobility. She has no escape.
Yeah.
You have to burn your
Yeah.
ult every time. It's useless.
Like I said with the mages earlier, it's a meta of escape, and just with kin size coming in, it's you have to be able to get out. Whereas Artemis just can't do that.
Yeah, I don't
I mean,
like I said.
during crit meta, you could box somebody and be okay with it, and
Well,
hit
no,
a
that's
trap,
not always true. 'Cause
ult, and get out.
that wasn't always true though. Because the problem was this. I remember playing her, around season 2 era, where she was still alright because Apollo and Rama and Anhra got their nerfs, so Artemis was still a good character. The problem with that was if you didn't get halfway through the game and weren't behind by almost 2,000 gold, you were that was lucky. Most people were behind by a lot when that happened. I mean, shit, I used to love going against Artemis because I used to be able to just box her for days. Once her 2 goes down, she doesn't really have the attack speed. Yeah, she has a slow from her 3. Yeah, Tusky is the biggest pain in the ass in the world. But you could box her at that point. If she hits a crit on you, you're in a lot of trouble, early game. But until late game, she's not really as good. So, for now, I'm leaving her as a
She
2.
was the early game hunter, and
Yeah.
it's slowly been going downhill for her since season 1.
Well, the reason why was because in season 1, with her passive, her crit was higher. The percentage for her crit was higher.
Yep.
So, with the basic attacks, literally all you had to do was build 3. You could literally go Boots, Devgots, Assy, Executioner, and you didn't even have to build you didn't even have to build Rage. You just built Deathbringer, and that was when Titan's Bane was huge in the meta. So the pen was fucking massive. It's just one of those things, man. But like I said, for
Even
right
towards
now,
the end of season 2, the Titan's Bane got big again.
yeah, it was just hard to use without the mobility. But like I said, right now she's a C. We're gonna leave her there. I don't think she's going anywhere for now. Alright. Next up is the first of the S plus gods, in my opinion, is Athena. Athena. Oh,
This
God.
meta, definitely. She has always dealt with the fact of low health and just not having to really rely on protections and get in there and move, the entire enemy team and rotate and, going into the changes now, she's already settled in. Anybody who is good with Athena is amazing right now.
Yeah, I mean, having her taunt right now, if you don't bead the taunt because you don't either have beads or you don't have another CC immunity thing, dude, it's painful. Her ult
the great
getting
thing
across is just crazy.
Taunts got moved to soft CC. I played earlier. I didn't realize it. Taunts got pulled to soft CC. It did not proc a Magi's Blessing earlier today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it may have just been a glitch. Don't, quote me on that. But we were playing with Dasu and all of them, and he was playing Athena, and we ran up on the Jing Chan, and he had Magi's Blessing, and he straight taunted Jing, and it didn't pop the Magi's Blessing.
Okay, well, that's something new.
I think it's been moved to a soft CC.
Okay. So, like I said...
Which means it's unaffected by the new CCR.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's crazy. So...
It's only hard CCs that are affected by that.
Yeah, so Athena's S+, no argumentation on that one.
No argument.
Alright, cool. Alright, next up is a Wheelix. I don't know, where are you thinking about this one?
A Willix, I don't know. It'll come down to builds for her, really. I mean, she's one of those, she can deal with the high health characters. There was a point where she was dealing with the heavy protections characters, but she's still not a league god, an FPL god. She's still casual.
Yeah.
Because you have to single somebody out, which is really hard with competent players.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, she's a B+. I still feel as if her damage output is really high. She has good mobility.
Yeah, her damage.
Yeah. And she does do good damage. I mean, she's not really balanced. I wouldn't pick her. Same thing like Upwash. She doesn't, he doesn't have the mobility, but she doesn't really have, the rest of it. She doesn't have a burst damage. She has great mobility. Her gank potential is not bad. If you can get somebody in the air, it's great with her ult. But I just feel as if she's not really there right now.
Yeah, it still falls to her only real burst damage is her 2. And whenever you get into a fight, are you comfortable flipping, having to count basic attacks, flip into an enemy team to get your burst damage off, get out, and still manage to help your team?
Yeah. I don't really think she's a good god in this meta at all, actually.
No, because the meta has shifted to heavy CC. It really has. And that is a Willix's downfall.
But I wouldn't say she's a B tier. I think definitely she's a B+.
Yeah,
I feel as if in the right hands she could be used well.
Damage output she has.
Yeah.
She's a B+.
Yeah, so I'm going to put her B+. Next up is one of my favorite and possibly the most controversial god when it comes down to it in Smite. And that is Bacchus. People think that he's literally a D. That nobody uses him, he's worthless. He has, honestly, in my opinion...
Trixton got the triple kill. Yeah, Worlds with him. He's amazing.
Listen, I think Bacchus
especially going into this meta.
Yeah, I think Bacchus is an A+ in my opinion. His ult is still the best ult in the game by far. I don't think there's any conversation about that. His ult is definitely the best ult in the game.
So much damage output on that ult.
Damage output, they're intoxicated, and you have the beads, and people don't understand, like, if you don't beads it, you're going to be waving. You can't hit basic attacks when that's happening. It's tough, I know.
Like, if you're running away from somebody after a Bacchus ult, it can help you. But most of the time, it's going to screw you over.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I think Bacchus is an A+ to me. I'd rather have him over here.
Oh, yeah. I mean... we're going into a meta, like we said, protections are low, health is high. Bacchus has built-in protections that didn't get lowered. He is still going to go into a fight with higher protections than most Guardians during any level of the game.
Yeah, I mean, there is a good amount of protection items. He doesn't have health items, but even having that extra bulk of protections really does help him. Plus, you have the stun from his 3. The 3 does healing reduction. Yeah. Your 2 does a massive amount of damage, and like we said, the ult.
For a Guardian, the massive damage on his 2
it's crazy. Like I said, for so long, Bacchus was terrible.
Being knocked down, his laning phase is so much better this season.
Yeah, I could see it. He's still a little shaky when it comes down to it. He still can get bursted decently. There's a couple of different things. It's hard to lane with him. There's certain different things. But I definitely think he's an A+ god for now. I don't think there's really much about that.
I'm comfortable with that.
Alright. Next up is Bacchusera. I'm going to have to say B.
Actually, from what I've seen lately, it depends on which lane he's in.
There's only one place he should be.
I will say he's a comfortable B. If you throw him in solo lane the way the items work right now, I'd put him in an A.
That's why I'm saying he's... I don't know. Because the problem is this. Even playing against warriors, it's hard to play against them. You have Ravana, who's been huge if he doesn't get banned. It's hard to fight against him as Bacca. Bellona, same thing. If she disarms you, what are you going to do? A lot of these big-time, warriors that are now coming back. Guan Yu's coming back. Hercules is coming back. Chalk has been there and been back, and a couple other things. You can't fight them as Bacchusera, in my opinion. And you can't really play him anywhere else, not named the solo lane. I don't know. For me, he's a B. He's not going to be there yet. I wish he was there. He was a fun god to play for a while. I got tired of it. Butcher's Blade is still a really dumb ability because the passive of Butcher's Blade still gives you the 20 or 30 physical power, on your regular. But
me and Brian did some testing with him today. Runeforged Hammer on Bacca, busted.
What, when you ult?
It actually doesn't proc when you ult.
So what would it proc on for the stuns or the slow?
With Butcher's Blade, it is insane. it it works with his leap, Butcher's Blade, and I mean, Eat Minion's really not,
Well, does Butcher Blade
needed.
present a slow?
Uh, I
Because then
can't
the passive
actually
wouldn't
remember.
proc.
We were, yeah, it's the soft CCs, but it procced with Butcher's Blade. I do know that for a fact.
Alright, well, that's something I haven't tested yet. So, it might be a great item, but like I said, for now, I'm going to put him as a B. I don't really see him as more. We're going to have to wait a while.
Yeah, I can see him
There's
B
nobody playing
plus
him in
right
leagues,
now.
really. Unless you're really comfortable with him, there's nobody playing him in leagues.
Yeah.
Alright. Next up is Bastet. I don't really know what to think about it.
I think Bastet is sitting safely where she was last season. There's still going to be the obvious undiscovered, item combinations with her, but, you can't go wrong with Boots, Jotun's Transcendence and not, hit your cats and walk away and feel like a badass.
For me, honestly,
But
she's a B plus. I don't know about you, but I don't really feel as if like you could play her comfortably, dude. It's hard. She can still get bursted pretty easily.
I mean, I throw her there because we are in the health and escape meta of gods, so it's hard for a Bastet.
Yeah, it really is.
It is.
Right, next
Health
is...
kills Bastet.
Huh?
I said health kills Bastet.
Oh, it's terrible. Alright, next up is Bologna. I'm deciding where to put her, but I don't know yet.
I think she's right back where she was last season as well, simply because the gods that countered her have gotten weaker.
Yeah, but my question is this.
She dealt with everybody, not really having this major protections anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And she was already building the health items, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd still put Bologna at an S plus.
See, that's what I was thinking. I was deciding either between S plus or S. She's still one of those gods you gotta pick.
No. Yeah.
Almost like every game. She has to be picked or banned at this rate.
I mean, they got rid of the root on Jing Chen. That was her biggest downfall come mid to late game, was that root.
But the funny thing was is that she was still able to beat Jing Chen.
Yeah. The supposed counter pick for her, she could still deal with. And they made him even weaker against her in lane. I mean, it still has the knockup, and you can interrupt her too. All right, she still has Scourge. Enough said.
I feel as if the Scourge isn't the biggest thing about Bologna. Realistically, the biggest things for Bologna are her bludgeon, of course, and I think not a whole lot of people give her the shield bash enough credit.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
I don't think people give it enough credit for what it is. Being able to, absorb, when you first hit to slow. I don't think people give it enough credit. It's so good.
Yeah, I mean, imagine those annoying moments as an ADC when you're facing an Athena, and she absorbs those. Now let's put it on the character that can put the damage right back out.
She's just not fun to play against. I love picking her, but playing against her is so not fun.
Oh, yeah.
Alright. Next up is another controversial pick, in my opinion. Cabrakan. I don't know about you, but I really, really do feel as if he's good in this meta.
I don't know, man. He's always had the hard time as a guardian fitting in anywhere.
Of course.
He had his run in the jungle. And it was good for a little bit until people figured out, hey, it's Cabrakan jungle. Let me step over here to my tower.
Yeah. The thing about him that's great is that not a whole lot of people understand it. His 1 is slow immune.
Yeah.
So a lot of people with their soft CC of the slows, it doesn't work on Cabrakan, which makes him a lot more viable. And then having the stun to set up with You're not being able to use beads, not being able to use any CC immunity thing. It's huge. I don't know about you, dude,
and I
but I
mean,
really do feel as if he's one of those gods that's definitely going to take a turn in the right direction for this meta.
yeah, I think he definitely could. But I feel like he's almost like a Bacchus character where his
Hmm.
kit is very questioned and people are unsure about it and really don't know how to roll with it. And I mean, walking in, it's a Cabrakan. You have a Bacchus style effect on his 3. You have the possible stun off of his 2. You have the movement speed plus the soft CC immunity on his 1, plus a stun on basic attacks.
Yeah. Like I said, I think Bacchus and Cabrakan are in the same place as an A+. I feel as if he could get better, but for now, I would pick him ahead of Ares when it comes down to it.
In the support role, I'm still not sure about that. As a Guardian, he's kind of lackluster.
I don't know. I like him.
But I mean, but like you were saying, there could be something that completely changes it. I mean, we were talking about it being an escape meta. His ult is so great for most of the characters who are getting played now with dashes. You know how hard it is to dash away when a Cabrakan ults you and hits 3? It's a little hard.
Yeah, it's a pain in the
Oh,
ass.
did I just 180 and run right back into his wall? Well, I guess I'm through with this lane.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm gonna leave him at A+. I feel as if he can get better and better and better as time goes on. I don't know about you.
I could see it. It just depends on the turn of how it goes, but
Okay.
I could definitely see him being amazing.
Yeah. All right. Next up's Chalk. I'm gonna keep this one short and sweet. I think he's an A.
Yeah, Chalk really hasn't changed much.
Yeah. I mean.
Let me heal 1, 2. Got it.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing I was
It's
trying
Chalk.
out was when Season 3 started out, I was going into PCS. I tried the Runeforged Hammer and the Shield of Regrowth combo. Because with Runeforged Hammer having the extra power, or the extra damage when somebody's slowed, I thought, okay, well, hey, let
In
me use
his
Shield of
3.
Regrowth. It's going to make me quicker, and if I use my 3, I'm going to be able to get in front of somebody and start doing damage. It didn't seem as if the numbers were really adding up. I don't really know why. It's a little confusing, but the numbers really didn't add up, and I kind of dropped the thought of using that
because
combo.
Runeforged procs. We found out today doing some of that testing. We tested it with different gods and abilities. It procs on the ability with the slow. Or in Chalk's case, the slow happens after he casts the ability, so Runeforged isn't actually proccing.
Well, there you go. Like I said, he could be good. I mean, his sustain is great in lane. His damage in lane is great.
Oh, yeah.
His ult is still a very, very
Chalk
good
is
ult.
Chalk.
But he's an A.
You can build him damage, you can build him tank. He's going to do the same either way. It's Chalk.
Alright, next up, Chang'e. I'm going to keep this one really short and sweet this time. She's A. I'm not going to say any more or say any less.
Yeah, she's good.
Alright, Chiron. Chiron for me is an S. I feel as if in the ADC role he has to be picked.
He's still there. His passive is still one of the best of the ADCs for me.
Yeah, him having the mobility, his ult is great. His 2 is a good slow / dot setup. His 1, cleanses CC / puts CC on. There's so many different things, man. I think he's so good. I can't really say much more.
He is. We'll see how it goes with the meta. I mean, there's the possibility of him falling a little bit, but
of course, there's always the possibility of falling.
Simply because with his abilities the way they are, he's very auto attack based towards the end of it. I mean, we'll see how it goes on him.
Yeah,
but S for sure.
All right, Kronos. Kronos for me is an A+.
Yeah, I would put Kronos at an A+ or S simply because of the way the items fell this season.
I don't feel as if you could put him as an S, though. That's the only problem. I feel as if you put him as an S, then it's just hard for me to say that he's an S. I can't see him being an
Yeah,
S.
I mean,
That's why I got to put him at A plus. I
yeah,
can't see him higher.
it's still early in the season. So I mean, his build hasn't changed in almost 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Yet some of those items have actually gotten a lot better now. And I mean, yeah, I can give him an A plus.
Yeah. Next up is Cupid. Cupid's just B, in my opinion.
Poor Cupid.
It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with his mobility. Why certain gods aren't, certain ADCs aren't good. He just doesn't have the power like other
Yeah,
ADCs
just
do.
just the way the season's rolling, just the itemization, the way it's going, he's gonna fall.
It's
You're
painful.
not gonna be able to do much against another ADC really with him.
Yeah, like I said,
He's great for team fight presence, but
yeah,
he's a B.
like I said, he's probably my favorite god in all of Smite. He's my first diamond. Really the god I fell in love with. No pun intended. Um, he's just one of those gods I loved playing. Not a whole lot of people knew how to play against it, so that's why I love doing it. But when it comes down to it, he's just nothing right now.
Yeah.
Alright, Fenrir. I don't know if you and me have
Busted.
the same thought, but he's an S in my opinion.
Yeah, he is busted this season. Busted.
The ability to do, the stun from his jump. Then you have to worry about beads again, as, somebody playing against him, because he has his ult. There's so many things about Fenrir that's so good. I don't really know how else to explain it other than he's just really good.
Everything he does is perfect this season. It really is.
Yeah.
Beads being on an extended cooldown means amazing things. And with the cooldown reduction, or not cooldown reduction, but the crowd control reduction, we were actually looking at numbers earlier as well, and it's unaffected by Fenrir's ult.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot use CR against his ult because his ult specifies as a time carried.
Yes.
Which, the way the items are going, makes him even better. It's hard to counter build a Fenrir now. He is just S all the way.
Realistically, there's only one guy that counters Fenrir, and that's Ares.
Yeah.
Honestly.
That's
not until recently did I pay attention and notice that your one will the Ares' chains will actually cancel Brutalize. I didn't know that until just recently.
Yeah.
But with that being said, him not being able to use Brutalize and not being able to jump, he's kind of useless. But not everybody picks Ares. So Fenrir, for the most part, is a really good god.
Yeah, Fenrir is just amazing.
Alright. Freya is next on the dock. I'm putting her right next to Fenrir with the other Norse gods, and I'm saying she's an S.
Indeed. Indeed.
No with Telekines coming in, you really don't need to build Demonic anymore since it's cheaper. Spear Desolation is great on her for having the penetration on her ult. And having, to build Fatale isn't that bad. She's almost able to be played in the jungle again, which nobody thought was possible. She's a good ADC. It's hard to play against, but it's actually easier now because since gods aren't like the way they used to be, where, she was just going to get blown up every time she went to lane. Now you could safely farm for a while to get your items.
Yeah, Freya is just amazing. I actually watched Brian 4-shot a Guardian today with Freya. It was with Telkine's Ring, simply because of Telkine's Ring and Spear of Desolation.
It's Guardians. That doesn't really count. Guardians are squishy as shit anyway.
Yeah, right. I'm just saying though, Telkine's Ring and Spear of Desolation have shot her right back to where she was when she came out and people figured out how to play her.
Of course.
She is the epitome of hyper carry.
Oh yeah, easily the best hyper carry in the game.
Yes.
Alright, next up is Geb. Geb goes right back up to S+, in my opinion. Having the cleanse on his shield wall is great in this meta. Cataclysm is still one of the best ults in team fights. Rollout is good for mobility, and his 2 still does a good knockup amount. I mean, in my opinion, he's really got pretty much all it takes. Plus, for ADCs, if you do build crit and you don't build pen, he has his passive, which means he takes 25% of the crit damage. For me, he's the second best support in the game.
Yeah, by far. He is up there.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Guan Yu. I'm gonna put Guan Yu at A. He's definitely having an uprising right now, having Gauntlet of Thieves to help him out. Tao Assault does really well, but he's still not that big damage like he was when he first released.
Yeah, he's viable again right now, I believe.
Yeah, he's viable, but I wouldn't say I would pick him before a lot of other gods.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, next up is Hades. I feel as if Hades is just an A. There's really no more, no less.
Yeah, Hades is about stayed the same. All they did was change his title.
Yeah, really. Habwa, I'm not even gonna say anything. Goes to C. We don't even need to talk about him. Nobody plays him.
Yeah.
Hell. Hell is, in my opinion, an A plus, almost on the rise of S.
Yes.
I think she can get to S soon. With her when she's in her light form, being able to cleanse CC with her 2. Oh my god, it's crazy. Her heals are great. Her 2 on her dark form still does a good amount of slow, and you get the bonus damage. Her 3 still does well, but her biggest issue is her mobility. If she doesn't use her 3 for her heal, she's still very non-mobile. Plus, she doesn't have an ult. I mean, let's be honest here. The ults are huge in this game, and when you have a stance switch, it's kind of hard to use.
Yeah.
All right.
I
Hercules.
completely agree with all.
Hercules is an A plus. I feel as if
Easily right now.
I think with Gauntlet of Thebes, he's became one of the better gods of the game. With his 3 being, depending on whether he's fighting or not, Gauntlet of Thebes really does help out. And his driving strike is still annoying. His 2 is still annoying. His excavate is still annoying as shit. No matter what you do, Hercules is a good god. I feel as if the new items really do help him. I feel as if he's very viable again to be played in the solo lane, and I'll definitely pick him over Chalk or Guan Yu in the warrior meta by far.
Oh yeah.
Alright. Next up, Hou Yi. I'm putting right away Hou Yi is going to the S. His passive is easily the best ADC passive in the game. Pretty much there's nothing you can say otherwise. His penetration from his 2 is massive in this meta. The stun when you follow it up with the 1. He has dive bomb to get out. Unfortunately, dive bomb has a little bit of an issue. You can still get hit by things. That's why he's not an S plus. His ult does alright, but it's realistically there as spacing. But I really feel as if that pen is really helping him out in this meta, and I think he is honestly the best ADC. I just can't play him well. So realistically, that's the only reason why I can't play him, as much as I should.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. Hou Yi is on an uprising at the moment.
Oh yeah. I feel as if a lot of people gave him a lot of shit when he first came out because he was weak, and I was one of those people. And then, he was alright for a little while, then when everybody started playing Gibalanque, it's like, oh wait, we'll play Hou Yi because he can't crit us any longer. Alright, cool. But then everybody started realizing, oh shit, he's got a lot of pen. It does a lot of damage. And now with having Assy and Kins on, you have a good amount of attack speed so that you could, hit basics. So he's a really good god.
Yeah.
Alright. Humbots for me goes right back, we're filling up S. And it's funny because not a whole lot of gods go to S, but right now there's just so many good gods in the meta that are really, really, really being a pain in the ass to most people.
I don't know. I really haven't seen Hunbots much right now.
I mean, the biggest thing is this.
Really haven't seen any play with him at all. I mean, I can imagine just how good he is right now, but at the same time, I can see all the downsides. And I'm thinking more along the A plus range. But like I said, I haven't seen much from him at the moment. He could definitely be S.
I
He
his
he
ult
always
is
has that potential.
his ult is
Always
what kills
does.
it. You know, you want to beat his ult, fine. You want it, his 3 acts as a teleport. You have the overhand smash that does a shit ton of damage. Plus the fact that he can crit afterwards, then his jump does slows and gives him an escape. Oh god. The fact that he isn't played more than he is blows my mind.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave that one alone, though. Alright, next up is your expertise. And that will be Isis.
Isis. I love Isis to death. I actually think in this meta she's falling.
Is it safe to assume she's an A?
Do what?
Are we cool with assuming that she's about an A?
Yeah, I mean, she's dropped a little bit, and I don't think she's going to fall too far.
She's got great burst damage. She has good mobility with her Wingo. She has, the way to take away protections with her 3. Her ult is still great for securing. She's not really worth more than that. I just don't really know how else to put it.
Throughout Season 2, she was definitely one of my favorite gods, but the way items and the meta is going, she's a well-rounded god.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of where she's at.
No else to explain it. Alright, next up is Giannis. I keep stacking my S tier, which is tough because I don't feel as if there's that many gods that are good. But when you come to think about it, Giannis still has the second best ult in the game, behind Bacchus's Intoxication.
I mean, Spear of Desolation on him has, you think of Janus as a quick burst, nice mage, where, Spear of the Magus was a really good item on him because you could 2-1, 2-1, and, continue that combo until somebody's dead, and you can shred an entire team's protections in no time. But now you don't have to go full CBR, and you can go more power, and you're actually putting out more damage now with Spear of Desolation, and you're able to get pin boots on him, and you're providing a lot more larger hits in team fights now as well.
Yeah,
and his escapes. Just a CC immune ultimate is already one of the best things in the game. Now let's provide an entire team with a route to or from the danger point.
I think the funny thing is that a lot of people built him with Spear of Magus, and I built him with Obsidian Shard, and I feel as if it did better damage.
It would depend on how the game went. Like, I built both items, depending on what I was doing. If I was having a crowded mid lane, I would use Spear the Magus, because I was going to benefit more from it.
Okay.
But if I had a fairly empty, jungler runs by every once in a while, Obsidian Shard was obviously the better item, because you're facing a mage and, the low protections of a jungler.
Yeah.
But comes to crowded mid lanes, Spear was just the best thing to do, and now Spear of Desolation gives you that mediary point for both of them, and then the passive on it combined with Janus, the god who can literally almost one-shot anybody. Let's take all of his cooldowns, almost all, just completely to 0 after I kill somebody.
Yeah, it's
boom.
He's something else. So like I said, I'm definitely gonna say that he is. Oops, sorry guys. That he is a S god. His mobility is great, and pretty much everything about him is great. I don't really see much wrong with him actually at all.
Yeah, the only thing that really hurts him are roots and cripples, which very few gods actually get.
Yeah. Alright, next up is Kali. We were talking about, hyper carries. Kali's one of those hyper carries. But for me, she's only an A. Her early game compared to Freya's is completely dismal.
Yeah, her early game is non-existent.
To me, she's almost useless. A lot of people are playing Kali of lately because of the pen. That's great. But when it comes down to it, I'm gonna just say that she's an A. There's nothing more to say about her. I mean, she can't really do much more.
Yeah, she's another one of those gods. We just have to see where she goes. But she is comfortable at an A, and she could soar way above that and, completely be one of those backdoor picks that just completely decimate a meta.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
She could slowly become completely unviable because people become accustomed to her. Just like whenever Nemesis took Mercury took the big dive into the meta for a while during Season 2. People learned how to play against him, and then he fell off really hard.
And then he came back like a month and a half later.
I mean, it's Merc. What else do you want?
True. Alright, so next up is Kefri. Kefri, like I said, I'm going back to how I said Athena is the second best support in the game. Kefri, in my opinion, is the best support by far in the game.
He is. He provides protections with damage at the same time. He can root entire teams. He can single target somebody out. He can save a teammate and cleanse them of everything, taking them away from death.
Yeah.
And then his passive, it is amazing in this meta. It's a passive. The shield is unaffected by kin size. They're just going to do straight damage to the shield. There's not much more else to say. He's the best Guardian in the game.
Yeah, I mean, with his, with his plucking, and being able to hold somebody, he's got the root. His 2 does the tick damage. For minions, it gives them protections. Gods gives them protections. His ult is, just fucking phenomenal. Being able to revive somebody. He's honestly you gotta ban him like first pick. He's literally first pick, first ban easily. Yeah, I'm more worried about him.
It has to say something to a god where they literally nerf him into the ground, and he is still the best.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Amaterasu, he would probably be the best god in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, they nerfed him into the ground, and are still nerfing him. There is yet to be a patch where he has yet to be nerfed.
Yeah,
he is still the best Guardian in the game.
He's so dangerous, man. I mean, there's so many times where everybody's like, I don't want to play support. I'm like, oh shit, I'll go play support. I pick Kefri and just body. Because all you have to do is set. I mean, so many things about him.
Yeah, Kefri is one of those gods where, you can show up in a team fight, completely swing the outcome, and then those 3 people that begin peeling off, you let them run. They're ticking down. All of a sudden, Kepri's got the kills. He's one of those Guardians that can sneak up and bite you in the ass. And then completely save his team at the same time.
Yeah, he's just so good right now. I don't see anything wrong with him. Alright. So we go from one of the best to one of the worst. Kukulkan. Kukulkan isn't bad, but he doesn't have the mobility, he doesn't really have an escape, but his power output is so high. So when it comes down to it, I'm going to put him...
It's game over.
Yeah.
But he has to hit you.
Yeah, so... And the problem is this is that Spirit Desolation really doesn't help his tornado or his twisters. They're not really called tornadoes anymore. Which is the problem. Because that's his main
thing. Yeah, you're still better off of Spirit of Magus. It does more for him.
Except for when you hit your ult and then you hit your 1 and things like that. But, it's a give or take. Right now, Kukulkan for me is a B+. He just doesn't have the mobility, but I would honestly pick him before Outwash. Just because he has that massive, massive damage. I think if you go the mana build and get Spear and Rod, his ult could hit for upwards up to 15,000. I mean 1,500. You know,
Yeah, he can completely one-shot a lot of characters.
he's so good. All right, so we're gonna leave Kukulkan. Next is Kumbhakarna. I'm gonna put Kumbhakarna where I put Bacchus and Kabrakan. I feel as if his Mesmerize is ridiculous. Especially with the new meta of cooldown for Guardians having a breastplate and for cooldown boots. His Mesmerize is up all the time. His ult is ridiculous how many times people use it. His root from his 2. I mean, there's so many good things about him. Plus his
And
passive.
like he has a low damage output.
Yeah, I'm not worried about his damage. I'm not worried about his damage because, again, he's a Guardian. He's a support. That's what he is. And the funny thing is his passive everybody overlooks. There's so many times where I think I kill him, and then I can't get close enough because I'm worried about the ADC blowing me up because I'm trying to hit him with basic attacks.
Either right now, or he can activate his 3 still. He can activate his Mez while he's down.
God, that's ridiculous. Like I said, I don't think he's more than an A+.
Character that has to get in there. It's take me down to 3.
Yeah.
Go to sleep. I'm back here. Ult, Mez, stun, dash away.
Yeah.
ADC one-shots him. It's game. There you go. There's Kumba in a nutshell.
Yeah, right now, Kuma's an A+. He's definitely one of those Guardians I'm starting to like more and more in the support role. But it's still, like I said, it's hard to overlook the Kefri, the Geb, and the Athena. But I'm starting to like him more and more as the times go on. You know, he went from a B god to an A to an A+, in my opinion. I think they keep changing it for him to be working in the meta. Alright, next would be Loki. I'm gonna put Loki in A. I feel as if he's just a basic god. You know, being able to get in and out with his 1 is great. His ult still does a lot of damage. His 3 does damage. His 2 decoy is still great for solo lane. He's not really a jungler anymore. I mean, you can use him in the jungle, but it's hard. He's really just balanced. I don't really think there's more or less. I mean, he could either be good or bad.
He's very straightforward and
to the point.
He's in and out. That's about it.
Yeah. All right, next is Medusa. I'm going to put, like I said, Medusa's going right next to him. Balance god, nothing more, nothing less. Her ult's great, but you got to hit it, you know. Her damage output's not really that great. I mean, she's alright. I mean, she went from one of the gods that I'm sitting there grinding it out because it was the funnest thing in the world to, and do I really have to play Medusa? I don't know. She's just...
You know, the way items have gone, she's definitely fallen a little bit. But it's still Medusa at the end of the day. It's her kit. She's balanced. You
know, the one thing that she has better than the other ADCs is that she could strafe and not have a movement penalty. And it's great. Boxing is so much easier. But
there's nothing like having a built-in Fatalis.
Yeah, but the only thing that I really like other ADCs than her for is that realistically, if you're in a boxing match, you pop your 1, that's great, but do you have any other, you know, abilities to use? The cone for the acid spray is pretty hard to hit. Yeah, if you use your lacerate, it's great because then they get a healing reduction, but at the end of the day, does it really do a whole lot? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, in the time it takes the animation for it, too, that's 2 or 3 basic attacks.
I mean, I want her to get
better. That's huge.
Yeah, it's hard, dude. She's a good god.
You know, normally,
I don't know.
If you take 2 ADCs who are equal, just all the way across, they're both going to hit their basics. It comes down to who's going to crit first. And with Medusa, she's very ability based.
Yeah.
Are you going to take the time to go through the animations and give that other ADC a chance?
I don't know. This is like one of those things where it's like, hey, who'd you pick more? Would you pick on her before her? I don't know. I still think that she does better damage output than on her does. But are you going to pick her ahead of Apollo? No. I think Apollo's still a better god in this meta.
Yeah.
Alright. So I'm going to leave her at A. Next is Mercury. I'm on the fringe of saying S, but I'm going to put him at A+ for right now. Because he went from being that god that was fantastic. You know, you build a crit build and late game, you couldn't touch him. Now people are understanding, you know, hey, let me just move around a little bit, and it's not as hard anymore. His ult still does great, but the biggest issue is, you know, once I hit those abilities, what do I do? If I toss you away from me and you're a ranged character, I'm gonna get blown up.
Yeah, Merc's biggest problem was the moment they took away the speed buff. Merc's viability in the early game is little to none until he gets, Boots and Golden Bow online, and it actually gives him the ability to come into a lane and hit him with a one and throw him into a wall and start boxing him.
But the funny
But
thing is this.
without the speed buff, his first 6 levels are almost worthless.
But the funny thing is this, is that really Golden Bow took off from Mercury in the solo lane. Honestly, Golden Bow isn't the greatest item in the jungle. In my opinion, going, the Jotuns instead of Golden Bow and then going into Crit is a lot better. But people are like, oh, I still gotta go the Golden Bow. But honestly, Golden Bow is just a solo lane item for him. When he was big in the solo lane, that's when everybody used it. They keep using it now. But honestly, like, the Golden Bow's not that big for me. The early Crit is fantastic on Throwing Dagger. I think Throwing Dagger is almost better than Golden Bow early. I feel as if upgrading to Golden Bow is worthless almost.
See, I don't know. I'm on the other side of the fence on that one. I think, one, the movement speed is big for him simply because of his passive, and then those early crits and then the passive on Golden Bow itself, just, you're in and out of camps unbelievably quick. And then even if you're just passing through a lane, you get that one punch on the front end of the minions and 4 of them die. Well, there's your farm. You never had to stop, and now you're on your way to do a lane to go gank. It allowed him in and out farm and stuff like that. I mean, then that all falls down to playstyle at the same time. So
yeah, one second. When it comes down to it, it's hey, am I gonna use the Golden Bow as a damage item, or am I using it for the fact that it works well with the passive? Which, for me is fine. I love it for the passive. But at the end of the day, it's just, it all counts down to, hey, am I really going to hit those, am I really going to get those crits? It's hard. I don't know, man.
It is.
I'm having split thoughts about it.
But consistently crit with it. And, Brian, for instance, isn't one of those people. He does not
never
hit
hits those
crits off a Golden Bow. But I do, and, I don't... that just comes down to luck.
Like I said, for me, he's an A+ god. He can get back to that S rank, but I don't know. Alright. Next would be Neith. I'm putting Neith right away in A. The only matchup she really excels in is the Soul matchup, and honestly, I'm learning more and more ways to exploit it as Soul. I mean...
Yeah.
You know where she's going to land, all you have to do is throw your 2 at it, and she's going to get hit by it.
Yeah, Neith is one of those very straightforward gods. I mean, whenever you're on a map with Neith, you always have to be aware of your health and your positioning. She puts map pressure like almost no other god in the game, but at the same time, she's still a very straightforward god. Her escape is very straight, and it takes time. Her 2, good sustain. Her root can be great, even better whenever you combine it with other abilities, but she's easily exploitable because she's that straightforward god.
Yeah. Like I said, I think right now she's just an A. I'd rather have Medusa, honestly, than her. I love Neith's damage output compared, and her ult is great. But when it comes down to it, I'd rather actually have Medusa, because I feel as if Medusa can box the Neith better. And the same thing goes for Apollo. I'd rather have the Apollo before I pick Medusa. I'm sorry, before I pick the Neith. It's a hard thing to deal with, honestly.
Yeah, I can completely agree with that.
Alright, Nemesis. Oy, one of the most broken gods at release, and then has just gone downhill completely. I'm putting her at B.
From what I've heard, she's supposed to be good in this meta.
I'm still going to put her as a B. I haven't seen it yet at all. Penetration really isn't good on her as much, because now you have to build junglers as tanks.
She should be one of the best gods in the meta at the moment, with everything being switched to health. She should be one of the best gods.
I kind of
But the
disagree
rest
with
of
that.
it did not follow up.
I kind of disagree. I feel as if when the meta was more protection based, she was a lot better. When Zhonghui was one of the best gods in the game, the direct counter, everybody was like, oh, I gotta ban or I gotta pick the Nemesis. When they picking Zhonghui. But for me, I feel as if like she's not, her ult's kind of useless. I don't know, man. She's got great
Well, I mean,
mobility. Her slice and dice is hard as fuck to hit. Her shield does alright, and her ult, she's not really that great. But I
you got to
wouldn't
remember,
say
her
she's
ult does
like
a flat
impossible.
percentage to health.
Eh,
And in a low protections meta, you're allowing anybody around there to almost deal true damage at that point.
to a certain extent.
Plus giving them a slow.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I mean it then again it still comes down to matchups and where the items go with the meta. I mean, it's still really early. I mean, she could come exploding out of nowhere and then she could stay the same and fall.
Like I said, I'd rather have a Wheelix and I'd rather have Bastet before I would pick her in the jungle.
Oh yeah, I'd rather have a Bastet any day, to be honest.
Alright. So next is one of my it's not one of my favorite guys. It's possibly my favorite jungler right now. That's Naja. I'm gonna go with an A though. Her ult. I'm sorry, his ult. I keep saying her. His ult is great because you take somebody out of a team fight and you bring them in the air. If you hit the crits, it's great damage. Sash is great. Ring toss is fucking awesome when you're in a team fight. But unless you hit good crits, Naja is not really that fantastic. Nothing really, overwhelms me about him.
Yeah, he's a skill shot god. If you're inconsistent with skill shots and basics, he is going to be a bad god for that person.
Yeah,
But
that's
at
the
the
big
same
thing for
time,
me.
if you can aim, Naja could be one of the best gods in the game. At he has his moments.
Yeah, for sure. It comes down to, can I hit my abilities and am I not gonna get blown up before it all happens?
Yeah, the Mail of Renewal change definitely hurt Naja a lot.
Oh, for sure.
That that little bit of protections it had, that's what made him survive and allow to get that trigger and it means something versus all right, now I get some HP5. I still kind of get my passive trigger off of it, but I'm still getting blown up no matter what.
Yeah. All right. So next is your favorite god of this patch by far, and that'd be Nox. You're gonna say S. I know you're gonna say S. But
I am.
I
I am completely.
I'm torn putting her in A plus. The only reason why is hitting your Siphon Darkness and your Raven. I'm sorry, not your Raven. That's what it used to be called. Your what is it? Your Dark Hook or whatever it's called. Shadow Hook.
Yeah, wrong kit button. That's just yeah.
Whatever. Raven Shout or what? I mean
Shout,
Raven, whatever it was. It was the same thing. It did the exact same thing. Um,
Yeah, just like Naja, her abilities reward a player's skill level.
yeah.
But I mean, I throw an S simply because she has a dash that can go through enemies, damaging them, and you can also go into a god, an allied god, deal explosive damage when you cancel, and at the same time it'll banish you off the map. That by itself is what made Soul amazing. Whenever people realized, oh my god, she's gone. There's no targeting. Bastet cats will disappear off of her. A banish is one of the best things in the game.
Yeah, but like I said, for me,
She
it's
has built-in damage banish, as well as she can silence an entire team. Versus like a Thanatos 3. Hitting in a cone. She can literally throw silence in the middle of a team fight, and then a root that actually deals a substantial amount of damage, and I'll call it a semi-global alt. It's extremely long range.
Oh, of course. And then it also has the explosion, does the tick damage. It's great. Like I
Yeah,
said,
it's an AoE skill shot. It's for me. I've been playing her a lot recently, and I'm not the best player by any means.
I could agree with
But
that.
whenever I go 8 to 10 games in a row and I die 3 times the entire time, simply because of the way her kit sets up right now. And one of the big items on her has always been Soul Reaver, simply just because it's good on her. And in the health meta, Soul Reaver gets better.
What's funny though is I keep thinking back to it. We keep saying health meta. Realistically, there's not a whole lot of items that have health on them anymore. That's why.
Yeah, but the items that are there. I mean, when I say health meta, I'm not necessarily saying, that it's, all of these items are, giving health and whatnot. It's protections have been reduced majorly,
Okay.
and a lot of what you're doing is based off of your base health now, and everybody will have those items. Warlock Stash, Ethereal Staff, or Runeforged Hammer, Mail of Renewal, most of the physical protection items, they're swapping protections for health at this point.
Yes.
Quite a few of them. And, some have made the change to mana, like Hide of the Nemean Lion, which was a change I actually really enjoy.
Oh, yeah, that's one thing that I love is that the health was good on it, but with it having mana now, it's a lot easier for me to swallow to have to buy. Especially if I'm going against, a basic attack
makes
heavy,
it
team.
viable on several gods. Like, if you're getting blown up, like Kukulkan, for instance, we talked about Kukulkan, and, sometimes it's hard with items with him because he has a passive that works like Book of Thoth.
Mm-hmm.
And you can now, if you're just getting concentrated and blown up, which happens to Kukulkan all the time because he has no escape, but he has the damage, items like Hide of the Nemean Lion are now viable.
Oh, of course.
On mages, because a lot of mages are switching over to Book of Thoth, and now that hide isn't just protections anymore. It now actually provides you a certain amount of power. It's not completely wasted.
Yeah. One of the big thing about hide that works for physical gods is anybody that goes against, basic attack heavy gods in the soul lane. For instance, one of the best gods in the game right now, which we'll get to later, it's just Ravana, or Raven. I'm sorry. If you build Hide of the Nemean Lion against him, it's a lot of damage back to him.
It allows you to almost safely box that god,
and that's a really good.
Feel comfortable engaging him.
It's a really, really good item on Hercules now because Hercules doesn't have a whole lot of mana, but with him being able not to get boxed because they get return damage from basic attacks and having the mana now so he can use his abilities, it really complements a lot of gods in this meta now.
Yeah, and Hercules mana scaling is really rough with the amount of mana they give him.
Of course.
Hide is amazing right now for him. In certain gods, it's better than others, obviously.
But we're leaving Hide in the Nemean Lion alone. We'll talk about items maybe a different time. But as of right now, I'm going to say Nox is an A+. The only reason why is because it's kind of difficult to hit, your 1-2 combo. It's tough to hit the 1 on its own. It's hard to hit these abilities. The 3, again, is one of the best, for mages right now. Her ult is fantastic. But when it comes down to it, she still can get ganked, kind of simply. Items are great on her. But like I said, her main damage comes off of that Siphon Darkness Shadow Hook. And if you can't hit it, you're losing a lot of DPS. So, like I said, I'm going to leave her right now at A+. She might move up at some point.
That's fair. I mean, like I said, like Naja, she's one of those characters where the kit rewards the player.
Yeah. All right. Nuwa, I'm not even going to say anything about her. She's A. We're going to leave it. She's got a great ult. She gets stunned. There's nothing else. Nuwa, nobody cares about. Odin. Odin for me is a balanced god, and I really think he's going to do well in this meta with the ring.
This meta, I believe Odin is amazing. He just, he's always been one of the. You would get protections, but they really wouldn't detriment your play too much.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because he was getting bursted anyway, because you had to be in the front line. You had to go drop the ring, and now you're stuck with a team, in the ring. But now, Hi-Rez finally realized, let's let him be able to walk out.
Like I said, I'm going to leave him as an A, and the only reason why I'm saying as an A right now is because before this patch he was graded to as a B god. I want to see him being played more before I go ahead and consider him as a top tier solo laner / warrior. I think he has a little while until that happens. Until then,
stuff him in the A to A plus range.
I'm gonna leave him as
an
A
minus.
A minus if they had it. I wish they did. But like I said, I'm gonna leave him as an A. I don't really feel as if he's an A plus. I'd rather have Hercules. I'd rather have Chalk. There's certain gods I'd rather have over him. Next up is one of my favorite warriors because I love the basic attack chain, and that'd be Osiris. His 3, which in my opinion is like another ult, will reduce physical reduce physical protections. I'm sorry, will reduce physical power, and if it holds on for too long, you get stunned. The ult is great, because the fact that they can't heal. Plus, it does a good amount of damage. Your Spirit Flail, will proc your movement speed buff. Your Sickle will slow the other team as much as it doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but it definitely slows the person you're fighting against. And it really complements his attack speed chain. I really feel his Frostbound Hammer is a fantastic item on him. But right now, it's hard to say that he's one of those guys that you could really see playing in the solo lane. Not a whole lot of people have that skill set to play him, or there's a lot of other gods that people rather play as of right now.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those gods where, a couple others that we've said are his kit rewards the player. But at the same time, like you said, just the way his kit works, I mean, how many other gods in the game can safely go into a team, pop beads and escapes without actually having to worry? His 3 is phenomenal. Like you said, it's almost another ult. I mean, Osiris comes in and, he gets 2 to 3 people in there. Beads are coming on, leaps and dashes are being taken, and all of a sudden your team follows up and they have nothing left.
Yeah. Like I said, I really don't see him higher than an A right now, just because he's not been played a whole lot. People are just getting used to him again, and it's hard right now playing as him. I don't know.
Yeah, he's one of the harder gods to master.
Like I said,
just the way his kit works and him being an auto attack warrior of all things.
Yeah,
he's just rough to get behind.
Yeah,
as a solo laner.
Like I said, I'm gonna leave him as an A. I think that's pretty much base where he should be. Next up is Poseidon. I'm putting Poseidon right next to Nox. Having the cripple, which not a whole lot of gods have, is huge. He doesn't have an escape, which would take him away from the S tier, in my opinion. His Kraken does a lot of damage, and you would have to have Sanctuary to get rid of it. His Tidal Surge, his Tidal Wave does a good amount, or is it Tidal Surge? His 1.
It's Tidal Wave.
Tidal Wave. And then his 2, in my opinion, is one of the most underutilized abilities for all mages. Being able to split into 3, having the bonus power, just movement speed, all that. It's really underutilized.
Yeah, it is definitely underutilized, and his passive combined with that too is amazing. I mean, he can outdo some junglers speed-wise whenever there was a speed buff.
Yeah,
and that helps his rotations amazingly. And I mean, a lot of the S tier gods, Poseidon counters, but because of the no escape, it's it's hard to place him any higher than an A plus.
Yeah. I would love for him to get better because he's one of the few mages I could play decently. Um, and I could even almost play him in the ADC role if he was, able to move around better. But if he gets better, we'll see. But until then, he's an A plus for me.
Same here.
All right, Raw. This one's really hard. I'm
He's
gonna
a fun
put
gimmick
Raw
god.
at A. He has a heal. His 1 does a good amount of damage. His 2 is a blind. His ult does a massive amount of damage. But he just doesn't really do much for me as a person. Like, I don't... He used to be, he was not one of... He was regarded as, an okay player. But when you look back to, like, Season 1 and early Season 2, he had some of the best stats in the game. I mean, he got buffs when people weren't expecting it. He never got nerfed. I mean, shit.
He was an underrated god for a long time. But yet again, he's another one of those gods that fall into the kit rewards the player. His ult is a skill shot, which is rough on mages.
Yeah.
You're getting trampled down in the back line. It's, I have to heal my team. I can provide a blind and a slow, and then I'm still having to attempt to hit skill shots.
Yeah.
He's very gankable. He's a well-balanced mage. I would put him in a B plus to A range.
I'm going to leave him at A. A being the basic, their balance. There's nothing really you have to change about them. He just, he gets ganked. I mean, yeah, he's got the speed boost and all, but he's still susceptible to ganks. Just there's certain things about him that don't make him any better than an A.
Yeah, he's raw, really. I mean, there's not much else to say.
Of course. All right, next up, Rama. He's an A. Doesn't really do a whole lot much of power.
Really hasn't changed here or there in between the seasons.
He's better as a Devour Gauntlets god, like Apollo. He has a good, attack speed steroid. His ult does alright. His 3 is great because it cripples, and it gives you, able to space down. Your 1 is alright. It's not as good as it used to be, of course, because they did the scaling down, and they made it that after it hits another, god and or minion, it'll do less damage per sequential person. But he still, is an ADC. He can still do the damage when it comes down to it. I don't really think there's anything else to say about him. Next is Ratatasker. He's going to be, I don't even want to talk about him because at one point he was one of the best gods in the game. I love him still, but nobody likes him. Huh?
I said he was an S plus for a long time, but they literally nerfed him into the ground.
Like I said, I mean, it's tough. Alright. Next up, the best god, not a guardian, not named Amaterasu again, is Ravana. I think Ravana is better than Bellona. I don't care what anybody says. His scaling for abilities is fucking insane. Attack speed's great. He has one of the few things that most others don't have. That's 2 forms of CC immunity with his ults, and also his 2. His 2 also being able to do damage. His passive is great for when you hit basic attacks because it gives you the shield. Ravana is just overall one of the best gods in the game.
His 3 has a detrimental heal on it, for God's sakes. You can gank a half health Raven. He can hit the wave and look at you like you made the mistake.
Yeah, I mean,
not many gods can do that.
I mean, easily the best thing for him is having Frostbound Hammer, having the base health, having the physical power, and then being able to slow you. I mean, he single-handedly
Yeah, and his
counters
attack chain is
he
ridiculous.
single-handedly counters half the gods in the game, in my opinion. There's not really any
Yeah, for
god that
sure. I
you could
mean,
say that with.
not to mention his ult is just a major chase or escape, and it deals tons of damage.
Yeah, I mean, Ravana was somebody that I hated. When the new changes came, I overlooked them, and now as Hyros is letting it go for now, I'm assuming in the next patch they're gonna definitely put a definitely put a nerf to him. But his right now is just stupid. I don't like playing warriors, but he's one of those warriors that I'm just gonna have to get used to, and I'm gonna start liking more and more as the time goes on.
Yeah, he's one of those you have to learn to play against. It's if you plan on doing leagues or anything past that, or even do well in casuals, you just have to know how to play against him, and
I
that's
mean,
hard because he counters almost everybody.
realistically, he needs to be banned. I, I don't know how many times
Yeah,
I have to tell
the
people he needs to get banned.
what is the best counter to Robin?
There is
First
none.
ban.
There is
Ban.
none. Amaterasu, but you can't pick her.
Yeah, exactly.
Ban. That's the other. That's the other. That's the other counter. He's. You can't beat him in
Exactly.
lane. If you have a competent Robin player, you can't beat him in lane.
You can have an amazing solo laner versus a semi-competent Ravana. The Ravana will still win.
Yeah. For me, it's just. Are you ready to, deal a lot of damage? Are you ready to do what you gotta do? And can you move in and out of the lane like you own it? Honestly, you could do whatever you want as her. I'm sorry, as him. And it blows my mind that you're able to just walk in and out of lane like you own the place. That you're able to walk around the map and you just gotta say, oh shit, here comes Robin.
Yep.
Alright, so Robin, like I said, is an S plus. I don't think we can argue about that.
Oh no.
Scylla. You're gonna hate me for saying this, but Scylla's an A.
Yeah, the sad thing is, Scylla is my favorite god in the game. That is my main. As everybody, I will have my bad games with her, but they are far and few between. That Scylla is amazing at what she does.
Yeah.
She has an escape. She has great lane clear come mid to late game. Her passive is massive.
Yeah, of course. And her
And she
ult
has a root
changes the
that
game.
can root multiple people, and her ult is just Jesus. If you can kill one person, you are literally the train and everybody is on the tracks.
Yeah. I mean, for
But
me, she's just not an early game god. It's hard to play with
yeah,
her.
she has no early game, and you're literally when you pick her, you go into a game knowing forced into a purple pot to be able to deal with any other god in the game. And as soon as you do that, early game, she is still very susceptible to ganks because you're having to dump a lot of your points into anything that will clear.
Yeah. Um, like I said, she's not a good early game god. Her 2 does a lot of damage. 3 is great for movement. Her ult is absolutely game changing if you hit. But at the end of the day, it seems as if she's easily killed. And there's nothing that just makes her stand out other than she's just a good god, but is really just
Yeah,
there.
she is a burst mage. That's all there is to her.
Yeah, like I said, I think she's an A. I would love to see her as higher. Again, one of those other mages I can play and I enjoy playing, but I can't put her higher than A. I mean, all right. So Serket would be next. Coming into the new season, Serket was one of those. Even when the new patch came out, Serket was everybody scared shitless.
Yeah, she was an S god for a long time throughout season 2. Just
She was actually, in my
she
opinion, S
was great.
plus.
Yeah, she was S plus material, uh, but she has fallen off really hard throughout the meta. I
Yeah,
mean,
I still
a
consider her
lot
an
of
A
the
plus
items
god.
have made her. Yeah, she will. Her kit is what puts her there.
Yeah,
The
she's
items that we had during season 2 is what threw her into the S and S plus, but
yeah. I
those
feel as
items are
if
gone.
yeah. I mean, her damage output with her Deathbane is great. Her two being a taunt. Her three, is a pretty much a disappearing slash. Hey, I'm a jump. Her ult does percentage health damage. I mean, it's crazy. Plus the fact that it could spread if it kills somebody. She's really
Oh
good.
yeah, it's
She just gets countered.
yeah, it just it's as simple as an Ares one, and she's shut down and dead.
I don't know. I would like to see her be higher. I kind of would dislike to see her be higher because I don't want to play against her. But for right now, she's an A plus. I mean, there's other junglers right now I'd rather have. All right, next up, Sobek. He's going in A. We can't really talk about him other than he has a pluck. His slow and his ult's great. His healing is alright. Plus the healing reduction. Tail up is eh. Honestly, he's not a great guardian in my opinion. He's hard to play around with, but that's just because you gotta hit skill shots for him to be really useful.
See, I'm comfortable on Sobek. I mean, I'd simply throw him into A plus simply because of his versatility. But I can see him being just a strictly A god.
The problem is that him, being the solo lane, which he used to do, is a lot harder now. With the Warriors definitely having an uprising. It used to be that realistically Sobek didn't lose any matchups in the against Warriors. But with Ravana, with Bologna, honestly Hercules, these certain gods could beat out Sobek when it comes down to damage, and that's why I don't feel as if he's an A plus god anymore.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right. Next up, my favorite god to this date is Soul. Soul is
No contention. Yeah.
release was stupid. I thought she was the terrible god. I couldn't play her for my life. I let it go for a while. I started watching people. I said, "Oh shit, she's an ADC." From there, it just took off. She does so much damage at level 1 with the heat, and then having power pop because that's really the only way you can start her. She's dumb.
Not many gods can take a 2 minute tower and completely feel comfortable about going into lane knowing that you're about to do that.
She easily is the. When you're talking about most versatile, she is the most versatile god. Not playing position wise, but being able to be in any position during a team fight, and you're saying, I feel comfortable with where I'm at. I mean, shit, with Soul, you could be in the middle of the fight and you're still comfortable with it.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw my one here. I'm going to burst everybody down. Here, let me throw a stellar burst over here. Oh, it's starting to hurt. Let me 3 out this way. All right, dodge some abilities because I was banished. Let me go ahead and alt the fight. She just fits in
Oh
everywhere.
my
And
god, dude,
not
she's
to
so
mention,
good.
just the role versatility. She's good in solo lane. She's an amazing ADC. She's an amazing mage.
Yeah, like I said, she is one of the best gods in the game. And people would argue with me about this, but I think she's an S plus tier god. I really
Yeah.
feel as if you have to either pick her or ban her. She's just you can't let her sit through a draft. She's first pick, first ban easily. She
If she goes through the picks and bans phase without being banned and they get picked, you have to go Neath. And
but
that's the only
that's only just
counter
if
to
you're
her,
going
but
in the
Neath is
ADC
still
role.
playable around.
You gotta remember that's only if you go in the ADC role. Now the thing with Soul, which is great during leagues, which it's just mind games. You say, okay, hey, I'm picking up Soul, right? Nobody knows where it's going. all of a sudden
Yeah,
you pick another ADC.
there's 3 lanes she could be going into.
Yeah, she's just so good. There's nothing more to say
And
other
ADC
than
can walk into leagues and be like, all right, pick me Soul. All right, they took Neith. Grab me so and so.
uh,
Middle taker.
yeah. I mean, she's so good right now. Yeah, so good.
She'll be good until they Ratatask or nerf her.
Which I honestly think is never going to happen. I don't feel as if they're ever going to do that because they've nerfed her more than once, and she still hasn't died down.
Yeah, she is. I think she's the unofficial poster child of Smite currently. Like, when you think of, oh, I'm going to go destroy these leagues, Soul automatically comes to mind.
Yeah, I love Soul right now. She is my favorite god in the game, favorite ADC, favorite mage. I mean, the power output is just fucking insane. Next up is Wukong. I'm gonna put Wukong at a B plus. I don't feel as if he's balanced anymore. I feel as if his damage is terrible now. The only real reason why he was big was because of Bluestone Pendant. Bluestone Pendant's hard to play against now. I mean, it's hard to build with now. He just doesn't have that damage output like he used to. His protections aren't that great.
Yeah, that was his early to mid game saving grace was the old Bluestone, and that's gone. I mean, he's not viable till late game anymore, and
I mean, I would
as
still
we've
pick
learned
him.
over the past 2 seasons, it's late game gods are just they're horrible. Most games are, they're being decided in the early to mid game.
Yeah. When it comes down to it, Wukong is just he's not an A. I don't even feel as if he's just balanced. He needs help. If he's ever gonna get good again, he needs help.
Yeah, he needs help.
Next up, Sylvanas. I'm throwing Sylvanas up in the S tier.
Yeah, Sylvanas is
With his pull getting, a reduction of cooldown, his, Gauntlet of Thieves being there for his 2, his root still good. Bulwark of Hope is one of the best items on Sylvanas I've ever seen in my life. Plus Adventurer's Blade with him having a fucking speed boost at the beginning of the game of attack speed and movement speed. It's scary. And his ult does percentage damage again, plus it leaves a tick damage of poison. Oh, come on. It's hard to say that he's not an S plus tier, but I can't see myself picking him before Kefri, and Athena, a Geb. But he's just so good.
I could justify a Sylvanas over an Athena. But I could not.
I can't. Not in this meta. I don't think I could justify it. Taunts are, confirms. Pulls, you gotta get lucky, dog. I don't know.
So Sylvanas is my favorite Guardian. Like, if I'm going to play a Guardian, I will go in as Sylvanas. But
I love Sylvanas to death.
With a Kepri overshadowing him, he's definitely fallen down. I just love his versatility. I mean, he's one of those gods. You can play strictly Guardian. You can be janky and go an ADC build, and it actually work. And you can build a power build on him, and it work.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things with him that you could get to work. But at the end of the day, for me, it's just, do you really pick him over those other gods? Is he really that good? He's not a first pick, first ban material to me. S plus is, the first pick, first ban material, in my opinion. I don't really feel as if he's there. I don't know.
I'd put him in S.
That's where I have him. I have him in S. He might move up. He's probably not going to move down. He'll probably stay there if worse comes to worse.
So Sylvanas has been an S ever. The only thing that dropped him was his heal actually hitting minions.
At one point he was the best god in the game. With his when his 2 used to be able to heal minions and it does damage, and it just his pull was on a shorter cooldown back then before it got pushed up again. The root had a higher MP5. You know, he used to be one of the best gods in the game, if not the best god in the game.
Oh yeah.
But we'll leave him alone. Thanatos, A, basic god, does a high amount of damage, but late game falls off. Now, this one is my favorite. I think Thor is an S+. I feel as if
Thor will always be there until they completely destroy him.
Which is never going to happen.
He's
the
so
one god that will
versatile.
never,
He has
ever change.
super high mobility. He's one of the few gods that just he has an escape that can't be stopped. Really, I mean, they're the few things that do. Like, he can still teleport through a route. He cripples the only thing that really stops it, other than a silence. I mean, that's insane mobility.
I mean,
then he has a semi-global alt. He's high damage throughout the entirety of the game. A stun, which can also, carve somebody into a wall.
Yeah. I mean,
he's just so versatile. I mean, you can freeze a wave on tower. You can completely shut off a gank. You can shut off a side of the jungle, for God's sakes, with his non-damaging ability. That's versatility at its finest.
I think the best thing about him, which is also the most broken thing, is that when he's in his Berserker Barrage, he is knock-up immune.
Yes.
Which is funny because it kills a lot of people's ults.
Uninterruptible.
Yeah. No, it's interruptible. You can knock back.
Well, I said practically. I mean, it's...
Realistically, the only thing that doesn't stop Berserker Barrage is knockups. Everything else, though, does. Cripples actually don't even stop Berserker Barrage.
Yep.
He's just... He's probably the best jungler in the game.
Yeah, he will be until something better comes along or they just destroy him.
Yeah. Alright. Next is Tyr. Tyr's going in A. No more, no less. Basic god, does high damage. He's just not there anymore like he used to be.
From what I've heard, Tyr should be moving up fairly heavily, but that's all speculation
All
for
time will
this
tell.
season.
Next up, Uller. He's going back to A. He's got good mobility from his 2 on his axe. The stun on his axe, the combo with the, axe 1, his bladed arrow and his, his 3 on his arrow form is great. He just doesn't have an ult. He has an escape, but, once you use all that, you're in trouble. Plus his mana usage is fucking unbearable.
I'd leave him at a B+, simply because he's super mana intensive, and the way the meta's going, it's actually kind of hard to do the Transcendent starts anymore.
I mean,
a lot of the ADCs are going towards more of a movement speed start and getting kind of that early power going. And
I mean, for me, I always build Transcendence on most of my gods. I don't see a reason why not to. The amount of power it does is very, very high scaling when you have full stacks. Having the extra mana is fantastic. The Transcendence is pretty much a given on all ADCs. And Uller, is a very, very good complement of it. Like I said, he's a basic god, no more, no less.
Yeah.
Next up, Vamana, A. He does have dashes. He can do a lot of damage. His ult is great because it's CC immune. And he gives you healing. That's really it. Vulcan, A, I would say.
Yeah, Vulcan's fairly well-rounded. He's got a hard kit to get used to. No escapes, really.
Yeah, I mean, he could be an A+ almost just based on his damage. But, again, by the fact that he doesn't have any mobility, it, takes away from what he can do.
Yeah.
Alright, Xbalanque. I'm going to put Xbalanque in A+. I don't feel as if he's part of the S tier. Hoi's a big counter on him. Chiron does a good amount of damage to him. I mean, Gblanc is the best hyper carry late game ADC, but it's hard to get there, man. His early game is horrid.
Yeah, his early game is just bad, and a lot of his build revolves around how many kills did you get in the early game? Because I mean, one of the big things with him is selling Transcendence late game for Fatalis and getting attack speed boots simply because he's, a hyper carry and he can do that. But if, you're not able to get those early game kills, it forces you into the power boots. It physically changes his build.
Yeah. Like I said, for me, he's just an A plus. I mean, even without having the stacks, he does a good amount of damage late game, just because of his base stats. Even though you don't get to have the certain things, it's whatever. But at the end of the day, it's kind of, hey, are we gonna do damage with him and hope to God we can get some kills early game, or are we gonna just play it out to the late game? And a lot of people don't want to play it out to the late game, and that's a big issue.
Exactly.
So for me, he's an A plus. I mean, he's great. He's great. He doesn't need buffs, honestly. Early game he just has a low attack speed. But once you get a Scion, it's all over from there.
Yeah.
All right. Jing Shen, I'm going with A plus. He was an S plus god for almost a whole patch. I'm sorry, for like half of a season. But now with having his
instead of a root,
the root, without having the root now, his 2 is useless. His 1 still does a lot of damage. His 3 is great for mobility. His ult is still fucking retarded. But his root was what helped out his kit a lot. It made him a soul lane god. Even in the support role, it's still hard to do it without that root now. only time will tell to see, hey, will he get better?
But, I mean, that root is what made what he did viable.
Of course.
It was, you could get in there, you could box it, and, you know, you forced them to play your game with that root. But now it's just the slow, and it's, you know, Xing Chen really has no follow-up without wasting his escape.
Yeah, I feel as if we're going to have to see how it goes with him. I don't know. He's fun to play, but we'll see. Next up, Ymir. Ymir's going to go right next to him. I think he's an A+ god. With the new items, he's really powerful in the solo lane and in the jungle. In the support role, however, you know, he's same old Ymir. Now that beating is harder, support. You know, he's an A+. I can't say anything more. I'm gonna just throw these two together. I think Zeus and Zhongli are both A's. Zeus has a lot of burst damage, yes. Huh?
Zeus and Zhong fell hard with this new season.
I mean, Zhong for me was never higher than an A. You know, when he was one of the best guys in the game, you know, that was when he was higher. But realistically, I never saw him higher than an A. He has a lot of good damage output, but again, you know, his mobility is slower than most, and he can get killed pretty easily, you know, with Pen. I don't know. But when it comes down to Zeus, Zeus is the one that's more controversial, whether he's an A or an A+ to me. He does a lot of burst damage, and he's great. But it's just the mobility factor when they took it away from his 2 to put the new shield in, which is still a great ability, but it's still tough as hell, man.
Yeah, like, you know, I'm a mid player, and the way, you know, like we were talking about earlier, the way the maps are set up now, and just that the mages with no escapes, you know, you could have these mages without escapes, like Zeus was an S god. He, you know, he's hard to fight into. You know, he gets a Warlock Sash online. You come at him, he 2-1-3s, and you're gone, and he's still at half health. But now, just if you don't have an escape, you're dead.
Yeah.
It's simple as
It
that.
definitely
Just the
got
way the
worse for him.
pathing works now and all of that, you have to be able to get in and out.
Yeah, it definitely got worse for him as the patch went. It's unfortunate, but that's really how it goes.
And I mean, he really hasn't. He didn't benefit from new items. I mean, I love Spear of Desolation. It really didn't do much for him. He still benefits more from Magus.
Yeah, still. Alright. Alright, guys.
I could see both of them being an A.
Yeah, both of them are still A. Alright, guys. Well, fortunately, it's a long video, but there was a lot to cover. Again, this is my brand new Season 3 tier list. We're coming back with a new tier list every month with the new patches that come through. As I said, Amaterasu, best god in the game for casual so far. And then pretty much Guardians are ruling over the S plus tier with other gods. Hopefully Hi-Rez will look at some of these tier lists and understand, where they could help out certain gods would be great. Just want to thank Irish for helping me out with this, putting insight in on certain things that I don't do. It's good to, talk to different people about different things. So, alright guys, take care. Leave feedback in the comment section and or like the video if possible. That would make my life a lot better. Thank you very much. Like I said, if there's anything you need to, if you want to, be back and forth on, leave feedback and let me know what's going on. Alright guys, till next time.